All right, moving on to Cecilia. Okay, the only information I have is her saying go hard on her application. I know she's very involved in her college esports club, and I believe she's the president of something there too, involved with gaming. But let's look into it. It's probably gonna say it in here anyway. So cool. You have just your name up front and then your information. I think that you also had like a really short, a customized LinkedIn URL. So good job on that. So profile, expertise in marketing campaigns, content creator, experience in social media growth, known for my leadership, collaboration in gaming and administration. There's an extra space there, by the way. Administration skills, bilingual English and Spanish. So this is really interesting. I think like right from here, like a lot of people could almost figure out if they want to hire you or not, right? And this is a good base. And I think what happens is depending on what job you're applying for, this is you start like wordsmithing this a little better. And that's fine. As long as like I read this and know who you are, like that has done its job. And it's made me interested and to continue reading further. So relevant knowledge, skills, and training. So that's cool. I would also put this maybe lower because now I want to just like know about because I think some of this is here. So this is kind of redundant. And I think this usually the skills and stuff like go on the bottom. Oh, it's one page. Good job. Good job. So working and volunteer experience. I'm glad you put that together. And I think it really, really makes sense for you as a college person in college right now that probably doesn't have tons of experience. Esports coordinator, publicity coordinator, and secretary. So that's cool. I would capitalize the C in coordinator as well, just to stay consistent. These are small things that you have to like proofread and make sure like there are no errors. There are no errors. You don't want errors and typos and those kind of things in your applications and resumes. I do want to say I am now in kind of this like affiliate program. If you want to look at Hitmarker, which is an esports and gaming job site, click on the link in my description and I get a kickback for every person that signs up if you're not signed up already. So click on that link. Thanks. Winning over 10 scrims and led a successful season in Collegiate League of Legends. That's really cool. Hosted and facilitated events and game titles such as Smash Bros. And League. Assisted in coaching the junior League of Legends team through VOD reviews and reviewing patch notes. So that's really cool. I think this is straight to the point. I'm not again, I don't know what you're applying for or what you're looking to do. So I'm trying to figure out like how these would exactly apply to the job that you're doing. But if you're lacking experience, putting everything that you've done is really good anyway. But I think you've probably done a lot here. So maybe just figuring out exactly what you want to point out is important. SMC memes, 22 on Instagram. Founder and content creator. So I'm a little confused at like what's going on here, but I think I know just because I know who you are that like this is an Instagram account that you've created and you want to show that you've done social media. You can do social media, right? Develop strategies, advertise events, increase follower number from in 1 year with an average growth of, that's cool. Created situational meetings on a timely basis to inform students of anything happening on campus. Okay, so I guess the big question I have here is like, what does it mean to successfully advertise events? So being able to show what that success is, I think could be important. I'm not exactly sure how that would look, right? Like maybe it's this. Maybe because you created memes, more people were aware of the events and therefore it increased like attendance numbers. If you're able to prove that, like that's something that would be good. And then increasing the follower numbers, like maybe the exact numbers don't need to be happen. Like you could say like, I wouldn't say double because that could also be like, oh, so you increased it from 2 to 4. But yeah, increase follower numbers from 600 to 1500, just to make it like easy to read in 1 year. I like this one though. There's a weird formatting thing here with the space. And you know why I'm being nitpicky, why it's important is it shows your level of detail and also like putting your best foot forward, right? If I see that you're not, I'm not saying your resume is bad, but if someone puts a really ugly or poorly formatted resume in front of me trying to get a job, like something very important, what are they going to do when they're putting together a project or presenting something or doing something for a company? If this is like they're trying to, if your resume is supposed to be the best impression that you can make and that proves to me that like, oh, this person doesn't care enough or doesn't understand how to present something like nicely if they're working for me. Academic leader team, teen task force, Berkeley, California. Leader. That's kind of weird. Maybe like I would think of a different word for that. So leader as like what your role is. Focus on assisting first generation college bound high school students by facilitating workshops and improving time management as well. Cool. Assistant facilitating social events such as high school league tournaments and FIFA. Yeah, this is really cool. I have like questions about this that I want answered. I want to talk to you in a good way. It's not like you left me, you hooked me. You told me enough. Yeah, maybe the wording could be a little better though. I don't know exactly how to wordsmith that one. Education. Yeah. So, for example, like how important is your education in esports if you're looking for an esports job? Honestly, I think it's not that important, right? If you're like a 4.0 student, like maybe that's something you want to put in there and make sure that's highlighted, but like whatever. And then it also knows like, okay, the information I got, like, oh, you went to this college and this is your degree and minor, that's cool. That can align for the job that you're taking, but in esports, it doesn't matter. So it's not the end and be all. It's not the end and be all. Yeah, I would even take out the high school. It might not really matter unless you think it's special to put it there. Additional information, and maybe I put like the skills here. There's a comma there. I would say like, yeah, public speaking, social media, marketing campaigns. Bilingual is really, really cool. I would not put Canva on there, which is graphic design. That one's tricky. I feel like you should learn Photoshop. But I don't know if I put Canva in there. Maybe I just put the graphic design and then just hope like they don't ask you what you know on Photoshop and then you just like learn it. This one's a little weird too in the ranks because one, you said ranks and there's only one game. Unless they're notable, I would kind of avoid that. Unless like it really like being gold 3 in League of Legends means something to the job, then okay. This one's a little odd to me as well. I might put that something like in a cover letter or talk about it in the interview. Unless they're really asking for like those. And then I think you sprinkle this stuff in the games that you're familiar with if they're relevant to the job you're applying for in like this stuff if you're able to. But yeah, I really like this. I think this is a really good resume, especially an esports resume for someone that's in college. You're obviously doing a lot and you're involved and you're not just sitting on your hands and just playing video games all day and watching esports. Like you're contributing to the scene and you're doing stuff and you're gaining experiences. The other thing I would think about is if you know what you want to do in esports, I would start looking at job applications for those. Let's say you want to be a social media manager, start looking at those and then just figuring out like, hey, I keep seeing like video editing and like all the posts that I see, maybe I need to learn video editing, right? And if you keep seeing Photoshop, maybe like it's time to move away from Canva and get a student version of Photoshop. That's actually a lot cheaper. And then maybe even the school might provide Photoshop for you like through a program that they have. That's not uncommon. So those are the things I would start thinking about as you continue going through school. And you put your graduation. Good. Cool. Thanks, Cecilia. Moving on to Julian. Let's see, Julian. Sorry, this looks crappy. It's kind of got messed up through conversion and yeah, it's just a screenshot. So anyway, this is just a cover letter that was sent, I believe. Just a little bit of background for Julian. He is actually helping the Golden Guardians right now doing the social media stuff for the upcoming Zane event. So that's really exciting. And this is another engineer person. So he didn't send his resume because it's mostly unrelated to esports stuff. But hopefully that first part of the video with Alexander, hopefully that was helpful for you to figure out like how you're going to shape your engineering stuff. If you want to talk offline or later, like I'm totally down to do that too, because I graduated with an engineering degree. I worked for 6 years in engineering and started applying for things with a lot of engineering experience and how I shaped engineering experience into esports. But maybe the roles are different. I'm not sure, but we can talk about that too if you want to hit me up. I'm interested in a Y role, and I think my experiences align well with the role. I have a great deal of experience with product development, marketing campaigns, and esports-centric work. Though some of it not directly reflected on my resume, I've summarized most relevant experiences below. So this is kind of odd because if you're applying for an esports job, your resume should reflect your esports things relevant to the job you're applying for. So you're gonna have non-esports stuff in there, like engineering experience that makes sense for the esports jobs you're applying to. And again, you're kind of like talking down on yourself. So I would figure out a different way to word this. And the summarizing my most relevant experiences below, that's what your resume is for. So this cover letter, again, like someone read your resume and is interested, wants to get more information. And this is where like the resume cannot say too much because it needs to be brief and short. So you expand on like the really big key points you want to talk about in your resume, give additional information, like talk about a little bit more about the project that you did. That's just one bullet point on your resume, and talk about how those experiences are really relevant to the job you're applying for and how you could do a good job in the position you're applying for. So that's how I'd say like this next part is supposed to shape up in your cover letter. Previously worked with UC Berkeley's esports department, negotiating and signing terms of contracts for brands such as Corsair and Xfinity. That's cool. Develop a successful current membership model for their student body of over 40,000. I'm currently president of Smash at Berkeley and executive member of Berkeley Legends, the two largest esports clubs on campus and the two largest across the U.S. These organizations have given me 4+ experience with leadership and operational duties such as planning events, creating marketing and social media content, negotiating contracts, storytelling and visualization, managing teams, and currently working freelance marketing for Golden State Warriors. Yeah, sorry again, this got weird in the conversion. Team of the Golden Guardians. I have years of experience with Photoshop. Okay, so everything you said here are things that I'm going to see on your resume. So what I would do is, let's see. Let's say, okay, let's, for example, talk about the job that you're already working with, the freelance. You're applying for Golden Guardian social media coverage for Melee and the Zane event, right? So what on your resume, you're going to talk about how you've done all these events. So you're familiar with live events. You know how to do social media stuff because you've done campaigns and marketing, and negotiating contracts with sponsors and partners is really cool, but it's not relevant for that position, right? So that might be a random bullet point in your resume, but you wouldn't talk about it in your cover letter. And then I'll talk about like your familiarity with Smash, maybe because you're the president of the Smash Club. So what I would go into here is I'd talk about like, you know, as a president of the Smash Club, I have a lot of familiarity with the scene. I know I know Zane really well and I'm a big fan of him. And we've thrown a tournament, a Smash tournament. So I know how to organize things, and we ran into these difficulties that we've overcome, and we had these successes with it because we did these social media campaigns. So like talking about the event and the social media campaigns is what you'd use this paragraph in the cover letter for. So then I'm just like, so I look at the resume and like, oh, he's done all this Smash stuff and social media stuff. Okay, look at his cover letter because I'm interested. Oh, like he's telling me how that project went. So I already know in his mind, like, oh, he knows how to run a project. Or like I'm seeing the things that me as a social media manager reading this, I'd be like, oh, he's gone through the process, and I like know he's not making it up because I know exactly what that process is and he's talking about that process. So he knows what he's doing. So now I'm just like, oh, this guy seems experienced. He's proven it. Now I want to go talk to him. So I'm going to call you up for an interview. That's what I would say the cover letter is for. But besides that, without knowing exactly what you're talking about, this is a very like general cover letter, and it's more of a resume in written, like in a paragraph form, which I would avoid doing for cover letters. Thanks, Julian. Moving on to the last one we have. My throat is dying. This is from Nicole. Okay, so the background I have on Nicole, this is an old resume made in January. And she's a second year uni student. I think she's a League fan because her Twitter banner shows a photo from the LCS arena. That's cool. Outside the LCS arena. Another thing I want to mention that I forgot is putting your Twitter or your Instagram is, I would say, important or good, because then I can stalk you online and get to know you more. And I would also be wary of that, because then if I go to your profile and it's inappropriate stuff, that could hurt your chances. Like, companies are doing this anyway in the professional world. Esports, the same thing, and esports relies even esports relies even more on like what your social media profile is, because we just live on Twitter. So maybe you want to think about that if you want to make sure your stuff is hidden, or you want to clean it up a little bit. Moving on to Nicole's stuff. So it's really, really clean. I think this is something that you already censored, so we don't have your contact information, but I'm assuming it would be like Nicole, email, Discord, Twitter, whatever, contact, LinkedIn, phone number, those kind of things are up here. Again, I'm a fan, especially with entry level, where you might not have lots of room on your resume. Putting that executive summary or profile or whatever you want to call it at the top is really helpful. That would be customized for every application potentially. And I would also say this might be a screenshot. The margins, think about the margins. I think it's really legible. I like the color change and the font. I think this is really organized and I like it a lot. It's really pretty and really easy to read. That's huge. So I can skim this. And if I'm skimming it and I get like pulled by something, I'm just gonna end up reading the whole resume. Associate's degree. So usually people do things in reverse order, and you see the reverse order here. Unless there's a real like important reason why you flipped it, I would continue just doing that. Wow, that's a lot of degrees. That's interesting. That like really sparks my interest. Like, why? Because, yeah, why? So that's cool. Maybe that's why I put it there. I like this. If you're applying for an esports job, having just relevant esports experience, again, tailoring your resume towards esports is the way you want to go. You don't want to just take your generic resume that's like for your career fair at school that's not esports related and send that to esports people. That's not what you want to do. Community manager. Managed online communities for high school esports. Enforced rules in Discord server and club meetings. Kept online community involved with game nights. Publicized esports. Recommended esports volunteering. So this is really cool. I think it's really clean, straight to the point. Again, it's short. Maybe you're able to talk about what the successes are from all this stuff. But yeah, this is good. UCR Esports Highlander Con. Volunteered for one of the... So this is kind of repetitive, but it also gives me information like what this con is. So maybe there's a different way to format that, but that's okay. Checked in guests, helped with sponsor booths. Yeah, that's really straightforward. Unless like maybe you can fluff it up a little bit, like it maybe said like checked in like over 5,000 guests or something like that. That's kind of cool. Yep. But I know like this is probably a quote unquote simple volunteering task, but it's still really cool that you did it, and it's good to know what you did. And again, it's like really quick to skim it because it's so brief and short, and it is what it is. I like it. I buy Power Masters, volunteered at VR booth, gave information about event. Maybe you talk about like what the volunteering is instead of saying volunteered. Maybe say gave information about the event, communicate like Yeah, actually, I'm like a little confused at what this is. Like, were you standing there at the booth and like telling people about the VR headset and like helping people? Because maybe this is a point where you can talk about customer service or like community, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a community manager position, maybe you figure out like, hey, we want personable, like on the application or the job posting, they're talking about like, we want personable people that know how to talk to people. We want people that have good customer service. Like those are the things that you implement into here. Like, oh, talk with many people to talk about customer service for the new product for iBuyPower's VR booth or whatever. Those kind of things. Asian Culture Club, club president. Educated students about Asian culture through student-led events. Creator of Maid Cafe event. Managed all finances. That's super interesting. I want to know what you did. And especially as a president, I feel like you could have done a lot and you didn't talk about it. So managing all the finances, I think there's a way to expand this a little better. Like manage how much money to make sure that we're able to run events that covered catering, entry fees, ticketing, pricing, charity event, like these kind of things. I think you can expand on that to like make it more legitimate, to make sure that I know like, oh, this isn't just something that you sat on the board but really didn't do much because everything took care of itself because there wasn't much to do. Like I want to be convinced that like you did a lot on this. Educate students about Asian culture through student-led events. Like I want to know more. Like how did that happen, right? Because again, this seems like a fluffy statement. Like I don't know how valid. Like this seems like something that might be stretching the truth a little bit. So I want to be proven that it's not. Like I want to be like, oh, I organize guests to talk about Asian relevant culture topics for quarterly meetings or bi-weekly meetings to our 50 student with 50 students in attendance on each one or something like that. Like that would prove to me that like, oh, she actually did like legit events and whatever. Yeah, if any of that confusing, you can hit me up later. So the skills, experience in Microsoft Excel. I would just say just Microsoft Office. Just put Microsoft Office. Unless there's something legit like or not legit, something more like in depth like Visual Basics. I think a lot of people have experience with Microsoft. Organized, communication, adaptable, self-motivated, teamwork. So another weird thing here is that like it changes. You have organized and communication. Organized is an adjective and communication is a noun. Organization, communication, adaptability, self-motivation, teamwork, decision-making. Like, so then they're all in the same like tense or the same like phrasing or wording. Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling a little iffy about the skills section here. Maybe it's just a summary of all your experiences, but I can quickly see it anyway. But I see that the resume is a little empty without that, but that could be okay too. I like white space. Just quickly, I was able to quickly see like what your experiences were, and that was really, really like helpful to me, and that made me read through it all. So yeah, I would really, really second guess like these skills. Okay, that's all the applications. If you guys like this, I know this is probably gonna be a long video. I'm not sure if I'm gonna split it up into two or not. If you guys like this, let me know. If you want to send me your applications or editing reels or any stuff like that, because I do hiring and I do find freelancers for Golden Guardians, let me know. And hit me up on Twitter. That would probably be the best way to send those to me. And just like let me know that you came from this. Again, if you're looking for jobs, check out hitmarker.net. I get a kickback from them because I'm an affiliate. If you create an account with the link in the description below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.